Greetings. I am the Reverend Dana Warsnop, minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. It is so good to be winging my way into our cluster congregations. These cluster services are a gift of pandemic time that has helped us connect our congregations a little bit more closely. So hello, you good, dear people. My favorite advice columnist is Carolyn Hacks from the Washington Post. She is wise and wry, clear and direct, sometimes a little snarky, and always kind. She has also created a kind of online community and invites her readers to share their comments on some of the letters she gets, and sometimes she shares them in her column. This is a recent letter that somebody sent in, at least in part. Dear Carolyn, I am a planner and very on top of my calendar. I know what I'm doing for Christmas 2025, and I have already started writing the cards. I kid, kinda. But recently, I made a huge scheduling mistake to the tune of hundreds of dollars and hundreds of embarrassing apologies. It has set me into a funk. If I'm not good at the one thing I'm good at, then what am I good at? I can't blame the pandemic anymore. How does someone come back from something like this? Am I still allowed to be good at something that I messed up so badly? Here is Carolyn's response. Being good at something does not equal being perfect at something. And just for fun, being worthwhile does not mean being good at something. I'll say generally that you have value and are worthy of love if you can't get through the day without double booking plans or being late for everything or burning a kettle of water or tripping over your own feet. You're allowed to be as human as you are. So the question I really want to answer is, may I give myself some grace and just watch bad movies all weekend? Because the answer is yes. Give yourself some grace and watch bad movies all weekend. A couple of Carolyn's readers' thoughts. The best stories at parties are stories about people screwing up and laughing at themselves. And now you have one, so congratulations. And I'm not a planner at all, but I, like everyone, mess up on occasion. But I try to comfort myself through the inevitable bad feelings. I'm only human, and bad feelings are a part of being human. So why make it harder by harping on myself? What I want to write to this reader is that they should stop shooting all over themselves, which is good advice for us all. I'm a tennis player, and I have found that the tennis court can be a good place to practice this. And it's helped me grow and how I move through the world and my inevitable screw-ups, to hold it all a little more lightly. It used to be that when I missed a shot, I would think and or say aloud, I should have come to the net, or I should have hit all the way through that forehand, or some other thing that I should have done better. But the thing is, sometimes the people on the other side of the net make a really good shot that I could never have gotten to, no matter what. So I have learned to say, I could have come to the net, or I would have followed through on that shot if the other player hadn't drilled it deep into my backhand side. And I've also learned to simply say, good shot to my opponents. Because that's actually more true and more realistic, and it's a whole lot kinder to myself. Thinking that I should be able to return every shot is unrealistic. And that kind of self-talk is nearly perfectly crafted to make me unhappy and doubt myself and play less well. When did we, as a human culture, stop giving ourselves space to learn? I recently heard an acronym that sums a lot of this up. SHAME, shame, should have already mastered everything. No space to learn, no space to get anything wrong, no grace for being human, lots of fear of being judged and blamed. Where does this come from? Seriously, where? To be alive and to be human is to need to learn all the way through our lives. And often, unfortunately perhaps, but often the only way we really learn is through making mistakes. We understand the concept of trial and error. We get it, but we don't give ourselves that grace. And somehow we think we're supposed to already know it all from such an early age. Before ministry, I taught 3rd grade, and it would break my heart when my 8-year-olds would beat themselves up about not already knowing an answer. They were only 8, and it was actually my job to teach them these things. I used to give jelly bellies as rewards in my classroom. You know, those little jelly beans that are particularly tangy or sweet in flavors like root beer, tangerine, or popcorn. Yes, it was rewarding them with candy, which is complicated. But I also hoped that somehow my kids would see that learning was sweet. My favorite thing was to give them a jelly belly for making a mistake. Wow, thank you. I was waiting for somebody to make that mistake. Now we can all learn something together. Sometimes they would look at me like I was off my rocker, but my only regret is that I didn't do it more often. Because by 8 years old, they had already learned shame. Somehow they should have already mastered everything. And we've all still got some of this in us. The clue for me when it's happening is if I get defensive or angry or want to blame someone else out there. Blame outwardly or inward, or blame myself, castigating myself for the slightest infraction. And yet, what of the things that are really hard? Our cultural understanding about oppressions and biases has grown like gangbusters in the last couple of decades. Grown so fast that no one can keep up. No one. So we are almost guaranteed to make mistakes with all of it. And somehow we still think that a truly good person will have already mastered negotiating all of the present cultural landmines, like racial and gender equity, with grace and assurance. The shame that we don't already know how to do this can stop us cold from even trying. Or to blame the world for making it all so hard and retreat from all of the issues completely. It is our shoulds, I think, that lead us to be afraid of mistakes. like we're supposed to get this really hard stuff right the very first time. In this scenario, less than perfection becomes a shame that makes us want to hide any mistake and or get defensive about our good intentions, even if we did mess up in some way. So this is where coulda and woulda can come in very handy. I coulda said something differently. I even woulda if I'd known the whole picture. It makes it a bit easier to practice a new behavior. Makes it easier to say something like, wow, I didn't even know that was an issue. Or, wow, I'm really sorry that I said or did something that hurt you. Or, wow, I am clearly still learning. This can help us negotiate the territory of intentions and impact, which are separate and yet connected, overlapping dynamics. I heard someone say recently something like, oh, intentions don't matter anymore. It's all about impact. I think that's shame talking, which is also rife in our culture. Of course, good intentions matter. Bad intentions just make a person mean. Good intentions mean that any pain we cause was not deliberate, and that's huge. Yet it doesn't take away the pain or let someone completely off the hook. We need to be able to own our mistakes and their effects on others. That's when figuring out what we coulda or woulda done differently helps us learn more easily, more lightly. Ours is a covenantal faith. We do not gather because we all believe the same things in the same way. Sweet, merciful heavens, that cannot possibly describe UUs, and that's why we like it. We gather not as like-minded people, because we know we need not think alike to love alike. Rather, we gather around shared values. Our values and ideals are very high, as they should be. Not so that we feel shame when we don't live up to them, but rather so that we continue to learn and grow. At their best, our congregations challenge us to stretch and think and try new things. That is the essence of a covenantal community. Not that we're all perfect, rather that when we do mess up, we stay in the game. We talk to each other. We listen openly. We seek reconciliation. We own our mistakes, especially when we have inadvertently done or said something that hurts someone. How do we reconcile? Put down the shoulds from all sides. Be accountable, which is easier said than done. Be willing to find out that you missed the memo and then go read it. Be willing to forgive yourself. Be willing to forgive another and begin again in love. Reconciliation is the goal. Figure out what went awry, who was hurt, and how, and try to learn from it all. And stop shoulding all over yourself. Because, honey, sweet cakes, it's okay. Be melodramatic and short, or tall, or give yourself some grace and watch bad movies all weekend. This is not easy. It's not supposed to be, though it is also rich, complex, challenging, comforting, even transcendent when humans truly meet with depth and purpose, grace and forgiveness. We gather in our communities week after week precisely because we haven't already mastered everything. None of us ever will, and we're not supposed to. What I hope is that this faith tradition will invite you into the fullness of your humanity, all of it, all that is our life, because this is really all we have got to work with. Everything that happens can serve to help us learn and grow, deepen in kindness, in capacity, in joy, in strength, courage, hope, and in love. Not easy, not supposed to be, and we get to dance with it all. Dance with it inside each of our beings, inside and with and among our own congregations and this whole cluster, and honestly, with across this grand faith tradition that we share. May it all be a dance that we do together. Amen. May it be so.